Good evening. This is the Community Preservation Committee meeting in audio format on Tuesday, September 29th, 2020. I'll call the meeting to order. Tonight we have a quorum of the committee present, along with myself, Tom Hickey as chair. We have Teresa, John, Patty, Phil, Karen, and I think I saw Diane just join us a moment ago. Hello, Diane. Hello. So I appreciate you all coming out again on short notice so that we can talk about at least, well, there's one timely article for this upcoming weekend's town meeting. I don't have any further updates, so I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the to approve minutes from our meetings on March 11 and September 14. I'll take the motion separately in the event, even if you weren't present those meetings, there's nothing preventing you from voting for it, but I'll entertain a motion on the minutes from March 11th.
I so move. Patty so move.
Thank you. Motion by Patty.
Second.
And second by Diane. Any discussion? Okay, I'll use a roll call to record the votes, if that's all right with folks. Teresa?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John? Is that an affirmative, John? Sorry.
John, yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Thank you, John. Karen?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
And I'm also yes. Unanimous for those present. Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion for the minutes from our meeting on September 14th.
I would move to approve the minutes of September 14th, 2020.
And Patty will second.
Motion Phil, second Patty. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, Teresa?
Yeah.
Patty?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
And I am yes as well. Unanimous. Thank you. Before moving on, I also want to thank Shirley for taking care of the agenda on somewhat short notice. And Shirley, on my screen right now, I'm seeing that you might be frozen, but I want to congratulate you on the birth of your first grandchild. And if you do, and if you are on at least an audio, congratulations on behalf of all of us, and thanks again for your work.
Thank you.
The items we had for tonight's agenda, as you might recall, the last time we met, we may have had a few irons in the fire, and if I may just provide a little context, the one article that is on the warrant for this weekend's town meeting that is linked to community preservation is Article 5, dealing with the Park Perimeter Trail Project. Shirley sent, as we asked at our prior meeting, Shirley sent us the, with Phil's work, Part B of that application. And we'll attend to that in just a minute. I would want to point out that the mention of the PCH Park Engineering Project, just for some clarification, that is, Patty pointed out to us that was listed as Article 8. But I did have communication with the town administrator. That article is not connected to CPC. We all know there was not an application filed. So that article will be on the warrant, but the motion is going to be to seek the funds for that out of free cash. So that is not a matter that our committee will be dealing with. So if, with no objection, I'll go to the Parks Trails Project, and Phil, I'll turn it back over to you. If you want to speak to the elements of this Part B, and then we'll open it up to questions from committee members.
Sure. Just to give a recap, for quite some time, going back to 2019, we have anticipated creating a perimeter trail around the eastern edge of the future park at Plymouth County Hospital. This would also go north to connect through the meadows that are beyond where the park would be, but just through open space and fields and forest and other attractive areas, and connect with Bonnie Hill Lane, which back about 18 years ago, the planning board created an easement, which was all duly recorded with the Registry of Deeds, so that a foot trail can go from Bonnie Hill Lane, excuse me, onto the hospital property, and again connect with this the route of the trail. And the southern end of the trail would be a new trailhead on Pierce Avenue, which again the hospital property has frontage on Pierce Avenue. Accordingly, then we would look for grant opportunities, and the state has a recreational trails program, which we applied for. It's an 80% match, 80%, actually 80% of the value of a project can be provided by the state, and at least a 20% match is required from the community, which in this case is Hanson. The background on the funds is actually they are federal funds which are passed through the state. So we applied to the state, but there's a little red tape which I think thankfully will be spared at the federal level. We did apply back on February 1st for that state grant, and it took a number of months plus delays for COVID, of course, to find out. But we were optimistic from the beginning, and so accordingly, we applied also for matching funds from CPC with first a Part A application, which we submitted back on February 12th, and then a Part B application, which we had drafted by March 11th, but by then all the delays in community town activities had hit. So we didn't really act on Part B. Part A was supported, and it did include actually in our grant application, it included letters of support from a number of different town boards and committees, including the Board of Selectmen. But as far as the Community Preservation Committee form is concerned, we have Part B, which we pulled out of the files, and we were pleased to note that actually we had fully completed that form. I just double checked it, and a few things such as target dates for different phases of the project will necessarily change a little bit, but that's okay because the funds can be used from the grant and for anything quite a long ways into the future. So we have before us now as a perhaps a formality, but an essential one, that the Community Preservation Committee vote to support the project as described in application Part B. This does describe the total estimated project cost, which is $130,410. It also describes the fact that there would be some of that funding is supposed to come from town volunteers and departments, but I think it is wise to do, as this committee voted last week, to actually approve the amount of $30,410, which in addition to the state's $100,000 would equal the anticipated project budget, because in the event there was a project cost overrun, which the numbers are put together almost a year ago, for heaven's sake, and there's a few other things that are always just best guesses or judgment calls. We would like to make sure we don't underfund this. So even if we do have funds from other sources or inputs that would cause us to not need all $30,410 from community preservation, as we all know, any excess would be returned back to the committee. So as we have noted, as Tom noted, Article 5 on the upcoming special town meeting warrant is for this $30,410. We had voted to have a placeholder, and that was successfully inserted. And so at this point, Mr. Chairman, I think we're ready to have any discussion or questions about either Part B or the whole project, and then move to approve this so that all the process takes place in order.
Thank you, Phil, and thanks for your work in getting us to this point to provide the committee with the remaining parts of the application. I'll open it up to any committee members who might have a question.
I have a couple questions.
Patty?
On your front page of your application, you're asking CP funds for $21,900, but in the warrant, it's $30,410. I think they should jive, not be off. And then that
I'll go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Then you'd have to correct the funding in the back to equal what's in the front for reporting so that we can go back if the state comes to audit, at least we have everything in order.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. The state requires we have at least a 20% match. We are actually offering about somewhat more than a 20% match with that $30,410 above and beyond the $100,000. the state recognizes that everything on the town end is an estimate because you are anticipating how much work will come from this area or how much funding from that area many months, if not more than a year in advance. We did request $21,900 on this form, but this committee did discuss last week, and I remember bringing it up, that there was a discrepancy in the amount between what we said we would apply for internally and what we are applying for here right now. I would suggest that we, as I mentioned up front, that we go with the larger amount, first of all, because the sense of the committee last week was to do that, and also because if our estimates are correct and we do not need more than $21,900, all the funding will come back. What we would like to not do is to undershoot and have a project be almost completed but not completed. And this is it's the sort of thing that happens when you have a 6 or 8 month delay in working together on an application and then actually looking at the need to come to a vote like this right now. I don't know if that's a good enough explanation. I feel that it's a sensible one, but it's actually all I have to offer. We would be happy, just because we're requesting $21,900 on the application Part B. I don't think that necessarily means, and I'll ask the chairman about this, that the committee has to vote specifically only on that amount. I would think we could make a vote that would be contingent on a slight adjustment in the amount. That's my hope.
Yes, Patty, I know you said you had a second question, but I'll just speak to this. I don't think there's when we voted on September 14th, we did vote a placeholder for 30,410. I think if the applicant, amends the application for the record, I think, Patty, is really where you were going, that you want something in the file that matches when you help us with our DOR functions and whatnot. It seems like more of a paperwork issue than a substantive one. The article as printed in the warrant is for the 30,410, and that was the amount that we held for the placeholder. So I think if the applicant simply made a clerical amendment after the committee takes action, I don't see a problem with that personally. Did you have another question, Patty?
Make a clerical amendment on the front page under Part B, and then the total cash amounts on the back, making $138,910 that they want to have from the total project, so that it all equals out. So when I do the DOR, we don't look like, what are you doing? It doesn't add up.
If I could add one more thing, Patty and Tom, about 2 weeks ago, which is obviously close to today, much compared to last March, we received input for the first time from the fire chief, who asked that the trail and the part that would have to be constructed, as opposed to just uncovering old pavement, be made 8 feet wide instead of 6 feet wide. There is a chance that we could exceed the $130,410 total project cost. You'll note that the much of the on the last page, page 4, it talks about source of funding. There'd be volunteers and a value which is actually rated at $31 an hour for volunteers from the state's formula, and municipal department labor hours. We have verbal agreements with all of those departments and also with volunteers from the Bay Circuit Alliance. We will aim to stay under 130,000, but if we don't, because of the fire chief's request, we see that the other sources besides CPC and the state grant as being the safeguard against not being able to complete the project.
Correct. So all you have to do is just adjust those on the last page and make the total 138,910, and I'm all set.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to pencil those in and make that available to the committee so that our records will show such. Tom, if you think that's a wise thing to do.
Thank you. I don't think it should prohibit us taking action tonight, but I think Patty's point is well taken. Any other questions or comments on the Part B? Okay, thank you. So hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the Park Perimeter Trail application for $30,410.
I'll offer that motion. I'll offer that motion if unless someone else would rather.
I said so moved.
Motion by Patty, second
Second.
by Diane, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll call the roll. Teresa?
Yes.
Patty?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I am yes as well. So we are unanimous for those present, and it'll be recorded as such, and I'll reach out to the town administrator later tonight to inform him that we've made that decision. So thank you for your input and your work on that. Continuing briefly under old business, I listed the Hanson Middle School fields under old business, not for a substantive discussion, but I would like to just bring it up again and keep it on our agenda, because I think that this is something that we spent a little time on the 14th talking about, and what I would like to offer as a suggestion as we make our way past the special town meeting, while not getting too caught up in the end of the calendar year, is to possibly reach out to the parties that were moving this application along, in the hopes that we might be able to focus some attention on it at an upcoming meeting. It's not for us to do any more work on ourselves, certainly, but I'm sure committee members, we've spent a lot of time talking and reviewing information. I would not presume to ask you to come back together for another meeting until, if we were to get back into a routine, perhaps in early November. But that would be my intention. I didn't know if anyone else wanted to speak to that before we get a quick review of other open projects.
I would, Tom. I just have a quick question.
Sure thing.
So I'm looking at the items that you sent regarding the field. I just want to make sure that, did we get the maintenance question fixed? Like, who maintains?
No.
Okay.
The most recent action, please correct me, but as I recall, our fiscal 21 budget for parks and fields was actually reduced from, I think it was from 25,000 to 20,000, and that was just part of the overall budget process for this year. So I think where it stands right now, Diane, is no clear plan. I suppose there is a plan, which is, the town, the school district cuts the fields, but the fields aren't being maintained. There's been no advancement of that discussion back from even, pre-pandemic, when we were more deeply engaged in this. We as a committee had talked about the importance of developing a maintenance plan in whatever direction this town goes with wanting to maintain and or upgrade its fields. But my understanding right now is that there's been no advancement of that discussion. We don't have a different, more detailed plan on field maintenance.
As of the time being, I just wanted to state that only because I think, and again, don't quote me, but I think there is a move or something, I don't know what you want to call it, but a move to possibly create a Parks and Rec department in the town. So I just wanted to keep that in mind. I didn't know if maybe we could talk about, I just want all parties to be aware that that would probably come under Parks and Rec. So if and when that does take place, they do create a Parks and Rec department, that would be out there so people know what's involved.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Tom, I think that that's a good point. But I think, as you were saying, a way I would suggest we'd say it is that we have attempted to take a physical space that exists in the town of Hanson that has not lived up to its intended recreational use, and with investing some of our effort in, I think maybe our administrative resources, we engage qualified help to show at least two options for how to revitalize that particular area. Again, because of its size and multiple uses, it stands out as being a good resource that should be getting used. And in order to get off the ground with planning for not only who runs it, but what it would cost to do up front and what it is that would then have to be maintained by someone going forward. We wanted to advance the thinking from fuzzy to try to get concrete, and therefore be helpful to all interested parties.
Yes. Thanks, Phil. Okay, with no further comments on that, I'll go to the last item on the agenda, which is whether we have any updates on other projects. Phil, I'll have Diane go first. Diane, anything on the north end cabins at this point? And if,
Yes,
if no worries, but we hadn't talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss that.
Thank
So
you.
as we were spending the money to do everything that we needed to do in the north end, we've come to the conclusion that we'd like to just wait a little bit until we get security cameras down there, because we keep renovating the cabins with new screenings or shutters or whatever. And there's just so much vandalism that we're putting good money after bad. And they're, you know, breaking down the screens, tearing off the locks, you know, using tools and everything and knives to jam into the screens. And it's really just very disheartening. So we did get Wi-Fi capabilities up at the camp, and we are looking at putting cameras. We have a system in there. So we'd like to not spend any more money until we have a little bit more security up there, so that we can maybe do something a little bit more preventative and discourage people from doing that. Like, hey, you're being watched. And because otherwise we're just redoing the same thing over and over.
Understood. Thanks, Diane. We'll certainly keep this on the agenda. And again, if there's nothing to report, I appreciate you giving us the context for why there might be a bit of a delay.
There is. Thank you.
Sure. I'll set aside Bonnie House and Phil. I'll bundle together if you have any updates regarding Thomas Mill, Botieri, or Sleeper Preserve.
The only update I have is that we're actually waiting for town employees to return from Family Medical Leave Act to retrieve the sign that we need to get put up for the Botieri Field. Eric has reached out to me indicating availability to do that. So we look forward to that. I can't put a time on it, but I think soon that will happen. On the Sleeper Preserve, still waiting for a couple of people in the town hall to work with the town council, who was trying to correct some concerns with the actual title for the property. That work is ongoing. I haven't been involved, but others are doing it. And so even though we did initiate a survey on the property, we aren't scheduling any passing or anything like that on it until the title is worked out. We do have until the end of next June for that to be completed, though, so not really concerned about that.
Thank you, Phil. I'm sorry.
I have a comment.
Patty?
On the Botieri Field, none of that, they've been adding dirt there lately, and there's a big, huge pile. I mean, you're talking about you wanted to clear this out, and I just don't see any clearing out at the Botieri Field.
Yeah, speaking for the town forest piece of that, the part where the signs are, where the new trail entrance was created, I've been looking carefully at that, and yes, there was some encroachment on that parking space by a pile of pipes very recently, the last week or two, and I have not been able myself to either do or find myself to do weed whacking and stuff and putting up, let's say, orange cones, which I was afraid might be taken, to try to keep at least one or two parking spaces open there. But yeah, the 95% of that parking area, which we expect to have available for sports, things like that, well, the demand for sports has been not zero, but fairly low this year. And the demand for space for the projects that are ongoing around town, Liberty Street and all, that's been well above zero. I would like to find some way to sort of put up almost like the recreational users sort of handicap parking area. Don't intrude on the spot near the new trail entrance. But yeah, the other stuff you mentioned is ongoing. The highway department, on behalf of the town, kind of makes those calls. And I don't know, Parks and Fields probably doesn't have as much sports demand right now. But yeah, it is kind of a little sand kicked in the face, if you will.
I agree.
Thanks, Patty. Any other comments on the project review that we had under old business? Okay, hearing none. Just before a motion to adjourn, I'll ask Shirley about committee availability. I was looking at my calendar. It's the second. If I was looking ahead to November, the second. If we were going to try to get back on some sort of a remote routine, the second Wednesday of November is Veterans Day. So I might ask if you have availability. This is a Tuesday night. We're meeting tonight. I don't know if Tuesdays might be better, but in any event, I'll reach out, and Shirley will reach out to see what might work best, and see if we can get back to having some meeting with some regularity then. But I appreciate you all coming out for the second time this month so that we can move along that one article. And I thank you for all your efforts. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion
Second.
by Phil and second by Patty. Hearing no discussion, we'll just confirm that people don't want to hang around here. Teresa? Patty?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
And I am also yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, Shirley.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care.
Brian.
Good night.